Hello, welcome to Mzansi Oz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. So this week is a big day for one citizen in South Africa, that is President Cyril Ramaphosa. The 21 days for Spaza registration is coming up this Friday. Like I said before, Ramaphosa has been a very weak president. It's the worst president South Africa has seen in the democratic South Africa. So this 21 days registration is going to be extended because Ramaphosa is a weak president. And we're going to listen to a video right now of a foreign national. He's an associate for foreign owned shop. He claims to be representing them. And we're going to listen to this clip and I'll come back and give you guys some comment as well.
Shop owners need to run the business as usual, and along doing this, they are now told to register. We actually like the initiative, the problem, because this will give us a confidence so that we can tell our customers that we are registered. Whenever we say let us have this thing, we are not overlooking the thing, because this is about the law, this is about health. This also gives us further opportunities from the government. However, the time it took from the moment that the president told us to do so.
100%. Talk to me about the documents that are hardest for some of your members to attain.
Yeah, as I have told you, the document starts from affidavit. There should be an affidavit where the owner will state that he won't sell anything bad or something illegal on the shop. He needs to get a proof of address indicating the specific address of the shop, which is not hard to get. It's something that you can get from the SAPS, of South African Police Services Office. The other ones, the one that's so hard to get is the document. Among the documents, one is South African ID, which most of foreigners do not obtain. Asylum seeker paper, which is the issue that had been sorted out for us. Because the situation called the Catch 2022. Let me explain what this thing is. Catch 22 is a scenario where when you come to an office to get unemployed, to be employed, the company will tell you to have 10 years experience. Okay? You are a fresh graduate, you have never been to an office, you have never been employed. You are required to have a 10 years experience.
Yes, I understand you.
When you go there, you cannot have an experience unless you are employed. An employer asks you for experience. The experience will only be obtained after getting employed. So that's what we call catch 22.
Explain the catch 22 then for Spaza shop.
Spaza, yes. The government of South Africa is requiring us to present a document called asylum seeker. This document hadn't been granted since 2018. And those who have the document, they have been trying to renew it, but it's stuck, especially since the 2020 COVID issue. There were backlogs at the Department of Home Affairs, which everyone knows. So now, one of the documents that has to be submitted for the review is asylum seeker paper, which is not granted since 2018.
Yeah, but here's the challenge now, Dr. Daniel, and this is where it gets, I suppose, incredibly difficult, because you can certainly speak about the backlog with the Department of Home Affairs in issuing identity documents and asylum seeker documents and all of those sort of permits. But there is, of course, the fact that if those documents are not in place, then one could easily argue that then you have people that are in the country illegally and operating businesses even though they should not be in the country because their status of being in the country is illegal. I mean, so just from where the authorities look at it, surely immediately there's the view that you've got to deal with the crime first, yes?
Now, by the way, I don't agree with the word illegal. We call it undocumented. Illegal, it is something you will be labeled after passing through issues like, I may not be illegal, I may be undocumented, which is something that human rights associations could tell you further. So, now, I'm not saying that people should not abide to the rules and the regulations of the countries they live in. Yeah? But the thing is, among the list of the documents, people who are in South Africa for years haven't been granted, or the renewal has been delayed. So I was here for years. I have been applying every time. A renewal has stuck. Now I'm being required to present a document that's at the Department of Home Affairs. How would my registration go on? Yeah, that's the problem. Is I understand what you have said. I understood it. We don't mean that we don't need to comply with the regulations. We do. We don't really encourage any illegal acts, not in South, anywhere in the world, because illegality is what everyone should refuse.
Yeah. We've got a lot to talk about, you and I. So there's the issue of the documentation. What do you make of the issue that's been raised by some authorities that South African individuals may be registering these Spaza shops on behalf of foreign nationals? What do you make of that?
For that matter, I have no evidence about it. I also read those news as you did from different news rooms, but I have no idea about it. So I can't comment on it.
Yeah, do you think it's right?
So I don't know. Every time, everywhere, laws have to be applied. So if the government says don't do it, it should not be done. That's what I can say. So I don't say when Mr. X does something, it's right. When Mr. Y does it, it's wrong. No, I don't. But whoever do it, if it is found to be wrong, it should be covered as wrong. So I can't comment on it because I have no evidence about it.
I mean, at the heart of this issue around Spaza shops, really what was being dealt with here is the children whose lives were lost as a result of foods that were bought at various Spaza shops. The Department of Health also talking about a chemical that has been found in some of these post-mortems, turbifos, as well as organophosphate, some of the sort of pesticides that have been looked at by authorities. As an association of Spaza shop owners that are run by foreign nationals, have you done an investigation as to where these chemicals are coming from? What happens in the supply chain? At what point do you get turbifos and organophosphate brought into a shop and into the food? What's your understanding?
As you know, the president also indicated that there is nothing that indicates that this is only found in foreign shops. We have said that it's in shops, so I cannot defend this. However, we believe that there should be a situation where people could pick something from the shop and that should not affect their health whatsoever that in. Because, on my way to you, I went into one shop, I picked something, I ate it. Imagine if that's something that hurts my medical situation, my health. So that we always believe that we have to be on the shoes of the other. The same way our customers come to our shops, we also go to someone's shop. So we don't do that. And we have been saying this in our different social gatherings. We have been telling or educating our people to keep the sanitation, to keep the shops clean enough so that our customers, because customers are giving us money, we should not give them something that hurts them. We never do that.
Yeah.
So,
but where do you think the chemical comes from?
So hard for me to tell you the exact answer, but we have to know the chain. We don't produce food. We don't have factors. So where this Spaza shops pick their stock from. So there is a cycle. So there should be something in the cycle, which I cannot exactly tell you where it is.
Yeah. What is your message then to your members when you try and speak to them about safety and food safety, pesticides, and perhaps even as an association and trying to communicate about, try not to get supplies from this particular supplier because that's where we've traced things to have gone wrong from?
Yeah, unfortunately, no particular provider have been picked so far. We cannot mention any company as long as no one has picked or identified that shop. However, we generally try to teach our community, the community that I represent, to have a clean shop, to make sure that the shops are clean enough, to make sure that the food they sell doesn't expire. I have my own Facebook page called Nafara. Nafara is a Hadisa word, which is to mean that it's like a stage like here. My community in Ethiopia has this culture. We sit, we chat, we discuss. We share things that we believe should be arranged or should be improved. So the same way on my Nafra, I have been saying this thoroughly. I've been explaining that we are hearing news that people are dying because of the food they eat from blah blah blah. We don't exactly say Mr. X, Mr. Y because it hasn't been said so. However, we are telling them, we are teaching them, this actually came just this year, It's just in 2024 that we are learning that some baby child they died there, blah blah blah. It's actually very new for us as well. We have never heard this before. However, we are working hard to improve the situation, so that shops remain to be clean, so that our customers come to our shops and they pick a food that helps them to live a life, not to die.
Okay. What's your biggest concern about what happens on the other side of Friday, the deadline for Spaza shops to register? Of course, that deadline is Friday. On the other side of it, what are your biggest concerns for if some of your members aren't able to get registered?
Yeah, thank you. The procedure of this registration is, it starts with the application of the forms that I have tried to list a few. So one among this is submitting documents to the municipality. The municipality has to inspect the shops. First, the municipality reviews the documents, and then it makes inspection. It comes to the shops. So in doing so, it takes them a while because this is also new for them as well. Actually, this is not new only for us, for shop owners, it's also new for the municipalities as well. Even though there are municipalities who have introduced an online registration, which is, I think, one municipality, which we comprehend, which we appreciate for that amazing initiative, which should be expanded in other municipalities as well. So these municipalities have to come to inspect it. Inspection has to be done thoroughly. It takes time. So, the documents are new for us. It really takes a couple of months, not even 21 days. So as a solution for it, if this is the last question.
Yes.
So as a solution, I and the members of my association would recommend two ways. One, temporarily, let this registration date be extended for at least another 6 months, so that.
So now that you've listened to this clip and you can very much understand my concern about this actually registration in the first place, that why would you even have people trading without the proper documentation, proper legality of it? The concern that they have is the affidavit. How can you say that having an affidavit is difficult for them to have an affidavit? You just need to go to have an affidavit and sign and certify your documents. To go to the police office and have that done. They're having it's 3 weeks now. They can't do that. It's an affidavit to say that they understand their legal obligation to run these shops, that they high risk. There's certain things they cannot have in their shops. So if they don't sign that, then they would be if they don't declare that they understand the rules, the registration, what's required for them to register, if they don't sign that, they can't register. And it's something as simple as going to see a justice of peace and say and declare, and then give them your copy of identification. The second issue they have is that they don't have identification. That means they're in the country, in South Africa, illegal. And he's trying to go over and say undocumented, he's not documented, and yada yada, but he's illegal in the country. And they say, we try to, there's a huge backlog in Home Affairs. No, there's no backlog. They've actually reduced all the backlog in Home Affairs. That means they're illegal. Their status as asylum is being rejected. I mean, he's Ethiopian. How can you be offering asylum to Ethiopians? Okay, so that means it's been rejected. So they don't have the documentation to be in South Africa, to be legal in South Africa. Therefore, they're illegal. That's another thing for them. So now they're requesting that to be 6 months. I mean, that's ridiculous. These things that are requested for them to submit, something people can have it within, I said 3 days, 72 hours. if you're running a good business, you're not running an illicit business. They're having difficulty to find this document because they're illegal in South Africa, and they haven't properly registered themselves. Because if you're illegal, they don't have identification. They don't even have asylum. There were even some issues about having them asylum people running these shops, because asylum, it's a very high risk. These shops, as we've seen so far, the November month, how many kids have died. So high risk. Now the level of risk, it's very high because of the death of these kids, that to have these people running these shops. So when you have somebody who's an asylum, you really don't have any proof of these people of good standing character, because they just rock up in the border and claim asylum. Okay, and this asylum hasn't been looked at, and that is actually a legitimate asylum in the first place. That's why they don't have the paperwork. So, and he's trying to argue that it's because it's not documented. No, it's not about being documented. He's using the language that Malema is using. So, Malema, some of these problems of high number of immigrants are coming to South Africa, actually, if will, by these politicians, especially Malema, who's telling all these Africans, you can't ask visa when you're an African. You go to another African country, you don't need visa, yada yada. Yeah, there are borders. The borders, they are there. They're still there. The laws and presidency and everything that remains since the colonial in Africa are still there. So this is an existing law that we have. So you cannot try and change the law. The law is there. Once it's changed, once all these countries says that they don't have a border, then you can say that. But at this stage, when you come to South Africa, you're coming to another country, a sovereignty country, with a border, with a different law than the country you're from. Just because you're African, you live in the same continent, it doesn't mean that when you get to South Africa, then you can rock up and not have the legal documents, paper for you to get there, to rock up there. So it's this ideology of it's undocumented. It's come from Malema, the far left group in South Africa. Julius Malema is the one that's been fueling all this high number of illegal migrants coming to South Africa. Okay. And so you can see now that they're really having a very difficult thing to even register the Spaza shop, and the things that are requested of them, they're very basic. They're basic things. You're like your asylum paper. And the asylum, I'm very concerned about asylum. I mean, a lot of people have been saying, even for me, I'm thinking, what on earth would you give an asylum person to run this business when you've had about 25 kids dead in 1 month as a result of this table force poisoning inside the shops? Because these people don't even understand the basic law and hygiene standard. So he's going on and telling the presenter that he tells them about stuff, about hygiene and stuff. But you can hear from that conversation that he doesn't know himself about South Africa's law, about what things he needs to communicate to his members. So he doesn't even know the South African law himself to be able to even to communicate to his members who are foreign nationals about what are the requirements to run a Spaza shop in South Africa. Why should I trust him? I don't trust him. I think he's also doesn't know what he's doing. And in fact, there's a lot of these people who are diaspora representing whatever the group in South Africa. When they interview, you could hear that these people they know nothing. As we say in South Africa, they know fuck all. They're trying to be on television. There's nothing that tells me that they understand what's happening here, what an issue here for, the people they're meant to represent. I mean, it's good when you have an associate, but you have to educate your members about the requirement of the law, what is required for a foreign national to run a Spaza shop in South Africa, and the fact that these registration came out of the death of children. So that's very important to South Africa, and it's very concerning. I wouldn't want people like him to be running these shops because they don't seem to understand the safety and the risk and the fact the asylum. The issue is the asylum. We do not want the asylum to actually run these shops. In Tshwane, the Tshwane municipality said very clear that they don't want the asylum to run these shops because they don't know. The thing is, it's the risk, level of risk. How are they going to actually assess the risk? Because the person who's asylum, it's very hard to actually assess their character, to get a lot of information about them, to assess if their claim is actually it's valid claim. Because once they become a valid claim, become refugee, that's a different ball game. But once they asylum, even these asylums haven't been verified as a true asylum. Like I said, many of them aren't very genuine asylum. One person, they come in there and then they run these shops, and a lot of them do promote this illegality and people smuggling, where they bring about other nationals from their countries to come to South Africa illegal ways and do the same thing. And then they get them to they exploit them, they traffic them into the country and get them to do things that are illegal in South Africa. Most of them, we know that from the statistics, and all of them get caught up in these people smuggling ring, especially from Somalia and Ethiopia. So the asylum in South Africa is very clear. It's the first safe country principle. So over the years, due to this dodginess of Home Affairs, some people were given asylum when they shouldn't have given asylum because of that first country principle. I could understand if someone comes from Zimbabwe, asks for asylum in South Africa because Zimbabwe is close to South Africa. If someone comes from Mozambique or come from Namibia, because that's the first safe country for those countries, they're neighbors. But we just cannot have asylum from Ethiopia and Somalia or Pakistan or Bangladesh. So otherwise, the resources of South Africa are going to be exhausted to even help people who are genuine asylum. So there is a big issue there around immigration in South Africa. Unfortunately, as a result, this is not going to change because the leadership, the cupcake, aka Ramgate, Ramaphosa, and the DA, Dr. Leon Schreiber, they're useless. They're both useless in this regard. They just don't understand the lot of work they need to do in order to actually stamp down this people smuggling, gender-based violence, and on all of this. It's all intertwined. And on top of that, Ramaphosa, added assault to an injury by actually offering this free, it's called 5-year visa for Nigerian business people. So now when you look at it and realize that, yes, it sounds really good for business people, Nigerian, because there's a lot of very good business Nigerians that are running really good business and genuine business. But you're also going to have a lot of those that are not, that are selling drugs, that are doing other things other than genuine businesses. So how are you going to stamp that out? What is the checking? What are they the safeguarding they're going to put in place? Because I bet there's nothing. Knowing ANC and everything they do, the policy that they create, are not thought out. They don't assess the risk. They don't do a lot of groundwork to see how the policy can be implemented and be monitored for safety and security for the citizens. So even with that announcement, a lot of it's to do with Ramgate and Cupcake, aka President Ramaphosa's business. His personal business is investment into MTN, the shareholder. He's the biggest shareholder of MTN, and MTN is the biggest communication company in Nigeria. And then MTN also in Nigeria was actually under investigation for not declaring some funds in Nigeria. So maybe that was a way of smoothing that out and, quid pro quo and say, hey, if you can let that case go for me, and I can get your citizen to come into South Africa. But it's really is not something that he consulted the citizen and to actually have a discussion about this so that people can understand why this is needed. At the moment, nobody can understand why this is needed. And I, even for myself, was thinking we already have a visa for everybody, including Nigerians. So why can't they get the same visa as everyone else gets? So why you need to have this special visa? Just like we had the ZEP, that now it's a problem to actually end it, because people who are holder of that, they still insistently go to court and try to reverse it, try to get to stay in South Africa, even though that ZEP, which is Zimbabwe Exemption Permit, was just meant to be temporary, but they still go to court and reverse it. So it is the issue of whether or not this business visa, there has been a consultation to the community, the citizen of South Africa, and the risk and benefit being assessed, and therefore the announcements. But it just came out, and out of the backdrop of the personal matters that's to do with the president's businesses, and also to do with some of the DA, business people who have some interest in Nigeria. So this is nothing to do with South African. South African citizens aren't benefiting from this. In fact, in my view, is that they're going to be worse off, and because you're going to see a lot of crime. That the current crime is very high, but that is likely to be 3 times what it is right now. So that's another thing that's for Ramgate, aka Cupcake, the president of South Africa. That's his nickname, his Cupcake. I like the Cupcake one. Anyway, so the third thing for him is that he's got a Bella Act. He's a weak president. This president is so weak. He signed off the bill, and then that bill became a law, an act. And then after his signing of the bill, he said, okay, certain items after signing that bill become an act. And he said, certain items in that act are not going to be implemented until he has consultation to consult with the people who are concerned about the Bella Act. This bill went through both the lower house and the upper house in South Africa, so it's gone through. And therefore, it was waiting for the president to sign it. He waited until this election to sign this bill, and so that it becomes a law. And so why was he waiting for this until the election to sign a bill that went through the parliament in the last administration? See how weak this man is. And then instead of, he gave them 3 months. So that 3 months is coming up this Friday. That 3 months for people to give an alternative. But even doing that is also not within South African constitution, because nobody has the right to veto something that's gone through both lower and upper house. The vetoing power, it doesn't exist in South Africa. If the bill has passed both lower house, there's a certain time where the president needs to sign that bill and becomes a law. So he can't just sit around and not sign it. That's why he had to sign it. Otherwise, people were like watching what is going on with this man. Why is he not signing this Bella bill to become a law? He signed it and said the implementation of certain items. And those items that he actually delay implementation are those items that actually affect most South Africans, how they register children in school and the crowding, and also the distribution of education in South Africa. The Bantu education that was developed by apartheid system, where it allows certain white schools to have more resources than the black school. So there's item 4. Those are the items that actually significantly we're going to change that. So those items are the one that he delayed from having them implemented. But the due date is coming this Friday. So he's got a lot of things coming in. So now we're watching to see if this week president is going to delay this longer, or he's going to be a president and actually administer the law as it should be, that no one has the right to veto something that's gone through both the lower and upper house. So if those parties that don't like those items, they can go and actually campaign and get voted by South Africans, and then when they become the president of South Africa, then they can review that law, that act, and then change it and amend it. So that's how the democracy works. It works that way. So it's gonna be interesting week for the Ramgate, but I'll be here watching. So this is my take, that Ramgate is gonna cave as always, because he's a weak president. That's what weak leaderships do. He's just a cupcake. He's a cupcake. He's just not a leader. You don't allow people to do that. The vetoing, no party should veto stuff that has gone both lower and upper house. No. So, but this is what you get from a person who was found with money undeclared US dollar in his couch. The Pala farmer. Yeah. So I'll be right here watching all unfold. I think because he's a weak president, he's not going to be strong enough with the Spaza shop, that there's not going to be extension, which there shouldn't be. And you should not register people who are not registered, who are illegal in the country in the first place. What the heck? And you already have kids died as a result of this recklessness of not registering these people that the ANC, brought into South Africa. Remember, these people are there because of the ANC failure of governance. Got this higher illegal activities, illegal migrants, illegal, it's due to the leadership, administration. So it'll be interesting to see how this week is going to play out, because so far this GNU zoning, which is, they shouldn't call it GNU anyway, it's just ANC Dear Alliance. They actually haven't done anything for South Africans, and they haven't done anything very significant to influence the income and the prospect of employment for youth in South Africa, which is really high, around 40%. Youth unemployment is high. So on top of that, you have that EEP crap that you increasing for what reason? And you have all of that. So leadership is it's required here. You need it in politics. People need to be strong in leadership. It doesn't matter politics, career-wise. Strong leaders who are strong, they look at things now and the future. It's not about now and how can I mitigate now and get myself elected. You can see all of these things that he's done. It's about himself and his cronies that he's created. But unfortunately for him, there are some faction within the ANC that don't like him. Just like I hate him, don't think he's a good president. I don't hate him as a person. He's a lovely man, but as a leader, I think he's horrendous and horrible. But what is the option for the ANC? There's no other options. They're all corrupt. So at this point, I feel like this genuine Toronto, they need to dissolve it, and we need to go back to the poll and vote for a new party. Hopefully, Action SA will be the next sort of a party that will lead South Africa. Action SA is nationalist party, center-right nationalist party, not very good, and ATM as well. PA, a little bit dodgy. I don't trust the PA now as a result of this stuff that I saw in a couple of weeks with these visas, and plus the protesting of them engaging protesting with the Bella Act. I thought that one was ridiculous for the party, for the actually leader that actually think about governing in the center to go engage in those kind of stuff. So anyway, this is what I want to, this video is getting a bit longer. I'm going to give you guys my thought about this week for Rumgate. Thank you guys for listening. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Until next time, have a lovely night. Bye.